It's that time. Everything and anything basketball, presented by The Outrage. With Kajan Castleman and host Spencer Byers, this is Polar Opposites.
Welcome, everyone. Another episode of Polar Opposites here on The Outrage Inc. Spencer Byers, Kajan Castle alongside me. And Cage, a lot of stuff going on. I don't even want to talk about the Super Bowl quick. All I have to say is I did not hit my parlay because obviously I picked the Niners to win, even though I didn't have them in that parlay. I picked Kittle to have over on yards. He caught 2 balls for 4 yards, so that was not close.
The only thing that screwed you over was screwed.
I don't think McCaffrey ended up hitting his over on receiving and rushing yards, which was 128 when I bet it, but he got close. But yeah, he was over on receptions.
I think he did hit it. Like the only thing was two or more touchdowns.
Oh yeah, he wouldn't hit 2 or more touchdowns. That is also true.
Yeah, let me actually see this.
Back, first down and goal to go. Play action.
80 yards receiving, 80 yards rushing. So he had 160 in total. So that one.
He did hit it pretty easily. Because I bet the over on his yards and receiving, which was 128, as I said. I did bet Kansas City to have a fumble. If you would have bet both, you would have made real money. Because I didn't think the Niners were going to fumble the ball, and then McCaffrey fumbles on the first drive and gifts the Chiefs a free chance because that should have been points for the Niners. Again, looking at it from the Niners' perspective, a lot of chances for San Francisco to get points, and they didn't get points. And if you're not going to be able to score on a pretty good defense in Kansas City, and they have Patrick Mahomes and an okay offense that has weapons, specifically two weapons,
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to win. And they had too many times where they came up short in a lot of situations. So
I think you had Purdy over 240 something yards passing.
45 and a half, yeah, over 245 and a half.
He had 255.
Yeah, so he just got over.
Yep. I think any time touchdown score for Christian and McCaffrey would have been the better call.
Yeah, but he didn't score.
He did.
Oh, yep. He caught the Jawan Jennings touchdown. You're right.
Yeah.
I was inverting it. But yeah, you're right. He did score on that one. But no, I just bet the 2 touchdowns because I thought he was going to win Super Bowl MVP. So I thought he was going to hit all the overs. And the best part is, Cage, if he does score on that first possession, I'm right.
Yeah.
What a surprise. But anyway, we'll skip over the Super Bowl.
Kittle you're over regardless.
Oh, yeah, I should have bet that Kittle. Well, I just thought they'd get the ball to Kittle more because he didn't get the ball basically at all against Detroit. And then they were like, you know what? We're just not going to target probably the best tight end in football. That's not named Travis Kelce. And it's like, oh, you know what? Fair enough, Kyle. You know what? You know better than me. Of course. You do that.
And that's why man does not have a ring.
And that's his 4th try, so hopefully number 5 is the charm, Cage.
Yeah, he might not even get a chance at number 5.
It's hard. I think it's hard to make one, and he's made 4. 1 as a coordinator and 3 as a coach. It's pretty nice, Cage. For head coach, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. But people won't look at participation trophies at the end of the day.
Yeah, Cage, I know. Thanks. I know. I got a lot of them. Okay, I played house. I got a lot of participation trophies. Okay, I got a lot of participation trophies that I hide in the back of the closet. Anyway, now moving off of the Super Bowl that made me want to cry myself to sleep.
I didn't like the fact that the Chiefs won, but it won me money.
Yeah. I told him to bet the Chiefs money line. He already had bet the Chiefs money line, so Cage did make money on the Super Bowl, as I almost did. But now on to the block party that happened in Toronto, and no, it wasn't in Quebec, Cage, because Victor Wembanyama had a triple-double.
It's close to it. Victor Wembanyama is French.
That is true. He had 27 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists. So you're thinking, where's the triple-double come from? Oh, it's his 10 blocks for Victor Wembanyama in the 122-99 win over the Toronto Raptors. Cage, you had a front row seat to the block party that happened at Scotiabank yesterday. What was that like?
Oh, man, he was like a man amongst boys. Jakob Poeltl was trying it on him. RJ Barrett tried to attack him one time. I swear he had 3 blocks in the first 6 minutes of the game. And easily went over my pick of 2.5 blocks, which I thought was a absolute joke. Like, come on, man. Like, the Raptors love to attack the rim, albeit tunnel vision wise. And Wemby's just a demigod. So I'm like, at some point, okay, now here's the backstory. Now, it's been obvious on this podcast that I love to bet. I saw the line. I saw the line for this game. Spurs were plus 5.5, 6.5 point underdogs, and they were plus 200. I'm like, bettors, betting apps, y'all really giving the Raptors this much respect? I've never laughed so hard at picking a money line so much in my life when I picked the Spurs. And the funniest part is I'm like, girl, Raptors, man, or as I like, actually, no, let me be professional here. Raptors, y'all couldn't have let me sweat just a little bit? That was the easiest money line I've ever hit. They didn't even lead the entire game. But anywho, back to Wemby. 3 blocks in the first 6 minutes, and there was a 2-minute stretch or a minute stretch in that third quarter in which he blocks Poeltl when Emmanuel quickly passes it to him and he tries to quick up for a layup. Wemby blocks him. That's 4 blocks. Then Jakob Poeltl's in the post on Wemby, tries to do some up and under moves, tries to think he's Hakeem Olajuwon, and Wemby just swats it. And then Scotty Barnes tries to attack him off the dribble, gets blocked once, gets the rebound, gets blocked again, basket for the Spurs on the other end. And then for his final block, his 10th block that gave him the triple-double, Grady Dick attacks the rim, sees Wemby in his rear view, and airballs the layup, the initial layup, then gets a second chance, misses that, and then tries to put it up while falling down, and Wemby just swats it. Just swats it down monstrously. And you know what the beauty of those 10 blocks was? And this is why he's so, I think he's that special of a player. All of those 10 blocks did not go out of bounds. He kept them in play, and it ended up being a defensive rebound for the Spurs. So not only are you compiling blocks for your stats, not only did you have an all-time performance, but all those blocks that Wemby got gave the Spurs fast break opportunities on the other end. And I think that's the most impressive part of, and I think that was the most impressive part of that performance.
They turn into an extra possession because, again, obviously, I'll say that if the ball is blocked and it goes out of play, it's technically off of that team, so the other team get back possession. So when you keep the ball in play for a block, same thing with the steal. If you poke it loose and it goes out of bounds, you didn't gain anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you poke it and it stays in play, or you jump and keep it in play, then you gain the extra possession. And obviously, the more possessions you get, the more kicks they can you get to score. And for a Spurs team that struggled a lot this season, snapped a 7-game losing streak with this win over Toronto. I mean, you need a couple extra kicks if they can, and if you can get an extra 10 for Victor Wembanyama plus his 2 steals, you'll take it. You'll take it.
That was the beauty of it all. Like, I couldn't believe when I replayed it, all 10 of those blocks were kept in play. That is like, it's rare to get 10 blocks in a game. It's rare to also get 10 blocks and keep them in play and end on a defensive stop instead of an offensive rebound and eventually end in a defensive stop for the Spurs, like a defensive rebound and then a fast break opportunity the other way. That's rare.
Moving on to another skid that got stopped. This time it was the Cavaliers on a 9-game heater. That's no longer. Buddy Hield's 24 points and 8 assists helped the 76ers win 123-121. He also fouled out, did Buddy Hield. Tyrese Maxey had 22 and 9. That's also 9 assists for the probably leader right now of the 76ers with Joel Embiid out. Donovan Mitchell's 36 points went for naught in the loss, who continues to go on his torrid pace, does Donovan Mitchell. So big win for the 76ers, especially as they stay without Joel Embiid.
Big win. And it's big. It was big for them because, as I'm looking at the standings right now, they're still they've won 2 in a row right now, and they're kind of treading water in the East, especially with Embiid out for an extended period of time. They're only a half game back of the Knicks, who have now lost 3 in a row. But that last loss, it came with some controversy, but we'll get to that in a bit. But they're keeping pace. And shout out to the Cavs. Shout out to the Cavs. It wasn't that long ago that they were dealing with so many injuries, with extended absences to Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. But you gotta credit Cleveland. They stuck with it. They actually performed better. They actually tread water and improved upon their record. And with Garland and Mobley back, they just turned on the Jets. Like, you knew, like, they'd lose once in a while every now and then. And credit the Sixers, they played a heck of a game. But that Cleveland team, now second in the East, is a team to watch out for, man. And with the Sixers, Buddy Hield gives them that much needed shooting threat, because aside from Tyrese Maxey, they didn't really have much shooting threats from at least beyond the arc. Now with Hield in the mix, that gives you another dimension offensively. I hope Embiid comes back during in time for the playoffs, because I want to see the Sixers team fully healthy in the playoffs, because they're going to be really interesting to watch with the head coach, with the coaching acumen that's coming from Nick Nurse too. There's going to be an exciting playoffs in the East, and especially the West.
I gotta be honest, Cage. So I never actually saw the foul call. So we will move on to the New York Knickerbockers, who end up losing last night to as I quickly look, the Houston Rockets 105-103. Jalen Brunson's 27 points and 7 assists don't look as nice when he gets a foul call called on with 0.1 seconds left on the clock. And I also mentioned, Kate, before we go into the foul call, Ausar Thompson, 8 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 steals in the win for Houston for the other Thompson brother. I know that you gush about Ausar, but Amen's doing pretty good too down there in Houston.
Yep. He is, and that Rockets team is on the outside looking in for the play-in, and they've really struggled as of late. But they got a bright young future, man, and getting Ausar Thompson, he kind of was set back a little bit with dealing with injuries, and the Rockets had depth at the forward positions, but with Fred VanVleet out for a little bit, he's really stepped it up, and they've really you can see like the vision and like what team they look like. They're a tough defensive minded team, kind of like how the Celtics were in with Udoka at the helm for that 1 year. So future's bright in Houston. I actually got to see that last play for that New York game. That was marginal contact. Aaron Holiday kicked his leg out to initiate contact too. First of all, that's just something you don't call at the end of the game. That's just an unwritten rule that you don't call something at the end of the game unless it's a very obvious foul. And it came out after,
I don't want to interrupt you here, but I'm just going to quickly explain so people that didn't see it. If you didn't see the call. So basically what happens is Jalen Brunson just ties the game at 103, dying seconds of the fourth quarter. Rockets drive, don't get the bucket, kicked out to Aaron Holiday, who pulls up. Jalen Brunson goes to play defense, jumps vertically. Holiday fires. It's no good. They call the foul on the vertical jump of Jalen Brunson, saying he made contact. They then, after the game, in a post-game tweet, say that the foul should not have been called, and that the crew chief, Ed Malloy, said after seeing it during post-game review, the offensive player was able to return to a normal playing position on the floor. The contact, which occurred after the release of the ball, therefore, is incidental and marginal to the shot attempt and should not have been called, which obviously garners a reaction from probably the biggest fan base in the NBA, the New York Knicks. President Achua, who was in the starting lineup, he posted about it. Josh Hart, he posted about it on Twitter. And I got to be honest, Gage, my favorite part about this whole thing before you continue is Jalen Brunson's response. He was asked 3 different times by 3 different reporters about the foul. Every time he responded with, great call, next question. I love that. I think that's great. Because he knows he's going to get fined if he says something stupid.
So he gets fined if he says the truth.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, you're right. I'm not going to argue that point, but yeah, he'll probably get fined. So great call. Next question. I think it's a great response.
Now it makes me wonder, with Ed Malloy just admitting that, do the Knicks file a protest?
Yeah, but
No, but they have a case now. Because if that foul was not a foul, you replay that game in overtime.
I mean, they could. We've had a protest already called earlier this year. I don't think it came for naught because they almost never do. But I won't argue that. Maybe they could. Maybe they could win the appeal. But
I think what they would after the NBA after Ed Malloy just admitted to this post game. Like, that just can't be something that can be ignored, especially in a tie game. Playoff positioning is very key because the Knicks have kind of been free falling a little bit with 3 straight losses. They've been dealing with injuries. OG Anunoby out for weeks. Julius Randle out for weeks. Now DiVincenzo got hurt too. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Isaiah Hartenstein's been hurt. Mitchell Robinson's been hurt. These games are huge for the Knicks, especially with the amount of injuries that they've dealt with, in spite of getting Bojan Bogdanovic, and Alec Burks at the trade deadline. These games are huge for the Knicks, and I'd be shocked if they didn't file a protest after Ed Malloy just admitting to this not being a foul, because they got a case now.
well, we'll see if anything does come of it in the coming weeks as we inch our way closer to the All-Star break, which is only in 3 days, basically. They play the next 3 days of games, 13th, 14th, and 15th of February, and then the All-Star break will start, and the next game after that won't be until the 22nd. So we'll have to talk about the All-Star game, Cage. Makes me want to kind of cry on my Fruit Loops a little bit. But we'll now move off of the games that have happened recently in the NBA, including the Celtics beating the Miami Heat. Or actually, you know what, Cage? Before we move off of the games recently, and we talk about the log jams that are happening on both sides of both conferences in the middle ground, the Boston Celtics beat the Miami Heat 110-106. Let me say that one more time, Cage. The Boston Celtics in Miami, in South Beach, beat the Miami Heat 110-106. Okay?
You're
Okay.
getting really okay.
Okay.
Go on.
With that being said, I watched the ending of that game because it happened on Super Bowl Sunday. So I got up, I was off on Sunday. Super Bowl's obviously on. Niners are in it. I watched the Super Bowl. So Celtics are playing at 3 o'clock. I watched some of the second half while I'm getting ready for the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to say that even though, again, I don't even dislike the player, to be honest, but Duncan Robinson tangles up with Jaylen Brown. Duncan Robinson initiates the tying of up. They call the foul on Duncan Robinson. Jaylen Brown tries to relieve himself from the situation, which then forces Duncan into an awkward situation with his arm. He then calls Jaylen Brown a dangerous player and calls it a dirty play. What? You initiated the contact. You got tangled up with him. He tries to leave. He's the dirty player. How? I'm not saying he should have made that motion with his arm to try to get free.
See what had made it
But you've got to be kidding me.
Okay. Spence.
You've got to be kidding me.
Spence. I know you bleed green. I know your Celtics bias is showing and it's obvious. Hold up.
Finish, Cage. Finish, hurry up.
Hold up. I do agree. What made that look so much worse than what it was the motion that Jaylen Brown did after that. But with that being said, you had your arm. Duncan Robinson had his arm in him from like the get-go.
They called the defensive foul first.
They did.
Like, what kind of garbage is this? And again, I'm not arguing that Jaylen Brown did technically try to, I'll say, dislocate his shoulder. That's technically what he tried to do. Not intentionally.
You know what that kind of reminded me of?
What?
Kelly Olynyk to Kevin Love during the 2015 playoffs.
Yeah, but that was different. That was going up for a rebound.
Now, if you want to call that dirty, that was dirty.
But I still argue the intent on that one. I'm not sure if Mr. Olynyk knew his Toronto Raptor was trying to do that.
Looked pretty intentional to me. This one, though, was not intentional. It looked very iffy. It looked worse than what it was because of the motion afterwards, but Robinson wasn't letting go.
Like, and then Duncan Robinson, I keep thinking Mitchell Robinson, the good Samaritan down there in New York. Duncan Robinson has the gall to go into the media after the game and say it was dangerous. Dog, you initiated the contact. You're the one who was tangled up with him. And you're the one calling it dangerous? You shouldn't have got there. Why are you there then? Why are you there? Why are you there? I was hit by a car. That was dangerous. Why are you in front of the car? Get out of the road. Like, what's going on here?
That's a completely different analogy, and I don't think that makes sense, but okay.
If you're the one initiating the problem, and then you say it's dangerous, what are you complaining about?
You know what this reminds me of? A voiceover by DJ Michi Meech saying, "Oh, ref, he hit me."
I was upset they called it a flagrant one. Because I thought that was dumb. Now, everyone on the broadcast was saying it was a flagrant one. I know the new rules of the NBA. Fine, it's a flagrant one. Okay, whatever. But then Duncan Robinson comes out of the presser and says it was dangerous and it was a dirty play when he initiates the contact. He's tangled up with Jaylen Brown. He won't let go. Are you kidding me?
All I'm going to say is that potential first-round series between Boston and Miami going to be...
It's going to be heated. It's going to be heated. The Celtics are going to slap them in 4. We're going to send those South Beach lowlifes back home. We're putting them back to the clubs.
I think it's going to
have an early Christmas, kids. They're going to have an early Christmas. We're sending them back to vacay and go to the Bahamas.
I think it's just going to be heat and 7, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's just because you're the worst. All I say about that.
Look, until I see the Celtics not play like a bunch of idiots in the playoffs, when it matters, I have my doubts.
And I have my doubts about the Miami Heat being a good basketball team. So you know what? We're both in the same boat. Anyway, now moving on to the conferences, because I just had to get that out. Because again, I understood that they had to call the foul on Brown and the flagrant one, blah, blah, blah. The NBA soft, I understand, whatever. But then he has the gall to come out after the game and say it was dangerous.
He was right. It was a dangerous.
You ran in front of the car. You ran in front of the car. Get out of the way.
He should have a flagrant 2 in the first place. He should have been tossed up out of it.
Cage, I would jump you. Like, Cage, you forget. I see you one more time this week. I see you for the last time in like 6 months this week. You better be careful. I'll piece you up, Cage. Don't fret. I'll piece you up. I'll be on like 4 hours of sleep that day too, but don't test me. As 50 Cent once said, don't push me.
Oh man. Oh god.
And now moving on to the NBA conferences. The Boston Celtics have pushed their way above the rest of the Eastern Conference. So we won't even talk about the best team in the East. We'll move down. From number 2 to number 5, it's 3.5 games between the Cavaliers, who are in number 2 right now, the Bucks, who are 3, the Knicks, who are 4, and the Sixers, who are 5, who are still without Joel Embiid for probably the rest of the regular season, maybe the rest of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another group of teams from, I'd say probably Chicago, no offense to Atlanta, but they're kind of in an island of their own. From Chicago to Orlando, it is 3.5 games. And Orlando being 6th and Chicago being 9th in the play-in, while Orlando's in the last playoff spot, with Indiana and Miami stuck in the middle.
Atlanta's in the last play-in spot right now too.
Yeah, but they're 17.5. They're 5.5 games back of Indiana / Orlando, which is quite a far way to go. 3.5 for Chicago's manageable.
And to be honest, the Pacers just had a bad loss yesterday against Charlotte.
They did against the 13th place 12-win Charlotte Hornets.
Hey, Raptors keep losing and the Hornets keep winning a little bit.
Cage, you got 7 games on them, okay? I don't know why you keep trying to tank over there, but you need to quiet down.
I don't know, man. The Raptors have looked bad, and the Hornets have won 2 straight.
Who knew all they needed to do was trade Gordon Hayward?
Hey, man. The combination of Trey Man, Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, Naughty Nick Richards. They're piling together some good wins.
Grant Williams at 21.
Oh, Grant Williams too, man. Like
Seth Curry had 17, or 18. My God.
Yes, sir. The better Curry brother.
I don't even think Dell would argue that.
Well, yeah, they're playing some better basketball as of late. And
you know what, Cage? So I don't know if you have your NBA standings, because I don't think I do on this computer. I don't. So I'd have to pull it up on my desktop.
I will take a look at it right now.
But yeah, you take a look at yours and look at the Eastern Conference right now. Because I know I had the Celtics number 2. You had the Celtics number 1. I just thought the Bucks would amalgamate better. And I also thought their defense wouldn't be garbage. Which it has been pretty garbage for their standards, especially.
So I had Celtics 1, Bucks 2nd, Cavs 3rd. So switch that around. Knicks actually 4th.
I think I had the Knicks around there too.
Heat 5th, they're 8th. Sixers 6th, they're at 5th.
That's disrespectful.
Huh?
That was disrespectful by you. But anyway, continue.
I had the Celtics at first. Don't at me.
Well, the Sixers put at 6 is criminal. But anyway, continue.
But they're 5th right now.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying continue.
Let me look back at the NBA standings. Actually,
I'm looking at it right now. Continue.
Okay. I had the Pacers at 7th.
They're right now at 7.
Well, this fell pretty short off the mark. Raptors at 8th.
Continue.
Hey man, you win some, you lose some.
They're only like 10 games out of that spot, Cage. Only 10 games out.
Hey man, get into the playing and win some playing games
Yeah,
and
get all that copium, you know. Can't go back to Chicago. Can't go back to Chicago.
Hawks at 9th,
They're at 10th.
Nets at 10th,
They're at 11th.
Magic won 11th.
You had Magic at 11. They're 14th. Where the hell are the Bulls?
They were at 13th.
Oh my God. Well, they're 9th. So you underrated the Bulls massively. Good God.
Well, in fairness, we both did.
Well, yeah, because I also didn't like the Bulls. They also had a horrible year last year.
Yeah.
But they're still not a good team. Like I know like we do dunk on the Bulls a little bit, but like they're not a good basketball team.
But they have been playing better basketball.
I mean, that's not hard when you suck.
And they've had some pretty impressive wins as of late.
Yeah, dead clock's right twice a day, Cage. Dead clock's right twice a day.
Well, Pistons I had in 12th.
Yeah, I think I had the Pistons at the 15th too.
And then Hornets I had 14th, Wizards I had 15th.
Oh, yeah, the Wizards at 15. Okay, and they're one win above that, so half a game above that. So
So in all honesty, with maybe the exception of the Raptors, Magic, and Bulls, my Eastern Conference wasn't that bad.
yeah, it's pretty like you're pretty chop and change. And honestly, I feel like we kind of knew that going into the year. The East was going to be pretty cut and dry. What about the West? Because we're very wrong in the West. I can say that for free.
So let's talk about where we had the Thunder and Timberwolves, because I think that was the biggest misses of them all.
Well, you start with who you had number 1, number 2, and then you can tell me where you had the Timberwolves in the Thunder.
I had Suns first, Nuggets second, Lakers.
Well, the Nuggets are 4th, the Suns are 6th. You said Lakers next at 3rd?
Yeah, and Warriors at 4th.
Well, they're 9 and 10.
Well, this is already going bad as it is. Clippers at 5th.
They're 3rd.
Kings at 6th.
They're 7th.
Thunder at 7th.
They're second. They're 2nd, yeah.
Grizzlies at 8th, but then again, we
dead.
didn't think the injuries would plague this team like.
You didn't think they were going to be like what 0-13 their first 13 games?
Yeah.
So you couldn't really predict they were going to be that bad without Ja.
Mavericks 9th.
They're 8th.
Close enough. Timberwolves 10th. They're first.
Well, they're only 9 spots above that, Cage. They're actually, ironically, Cage, they're only 10 games above 10th. It's possible. It's in play. It's in play. It's still in play. It's still in play.
Pelicans 11th. Yeah, that was a bad one.
They're 5th.
That was a bad one. But in fairness, how West is deeper. Pelicans health concerns. Jazz 12th.
They're 11th.
Rockets 13th. They're 12th. I think. Spurs, Trailblazers.
Then they're flipped. Trailblazers got 15 wins. The Spurs have 11 wins. So you thought Mr. Wembanyama's impact could be a little bit bigger. It hasn't been, but they're still looking pretty good.
I thought they were going to be 14th in the West.
But now, Cage, looking at the West, from 1 to 4, it's 1.5 games. The Timberwolves are 1, Thunder are 2, Clippers are 3, Nuggets are 4. From Nuggets to the Timberwolves, it's 1.5 games.
At one point, I think last week, they were in a 4-way tie for first.
So I'll be honest, Cage. I'm going to ask you this flat out. Who wins the Western Conference at this point in the year? Who wins the Western Conference? Who pulls it out?
Who takes the first seed or who wins the West?
Well, who wins? Who gets the first seed? Who wins the Western Conference? Like, of the regular season?
I'd have to say the T-Wolves.
You think they keep it?
Yeah. I think if any team's going to take the regular season as serious, it's going to be the T-Wolves. Now you can argue it's the Thunder, but I think they're still like a little young. And I think there's going to be games in which they will drop, but with a team that's more veteran oriented in like Conley and the T-Wolves, they do have youth in Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, but they do have some veterans on that team in Conley, Gobert, and I think that move that they got in getting Monte Morris was really underrated in terms of getting another game manager on that team. I think they're going to take the regular season more serious because the Timberwolves' is history, regular season and playoffs, and let's just say have been futile. Have not been very good. So I think in that sort of sense, they'll take the regular season more seriously. I think with the Clippers and the Nuggets, they just want to get to the postseason healthy. So my guess is that they're going to drop games in which they don't take some of these games as serious, and in a race in which the 1 seed is so close, I think that benefits the T-Wolves. But what do you think?
Well, as I race to get my tower on to be able to get my Eastern and Western Conference standings up, we now do, Cage. So now we're gonna flip spots, and now you get a chance. Even though I still have mine open, I'll close it now. You get a chance to belittle me and make fun of my Eastern Conference picks.
All right.
Are you ready, sweetie?
Yes, sir.
So number 1, I've got the Milwaukee Bucks, who we all know are number 3.
Okay.
The Boston Celtics are number 2, which I can say I'm very happy I'm wrong. The Cleveland Cavaliers at 3.
How were you the wrong one and I was the right one? And when it came to
because I just thought the Bucks were gonna gel faster. Because I thought Giannis and Lillard were a match made in heaven, and I think they're pretty damn close. You know, I just think that
but I think
their
the
defense has calmed down way more than I thought. Way more than I thought. I thought Chris Middleton and Giannis would be able to keep that together. They have not.
Well, Middleton's also not healthy, and
I for sure.
the drop off between Lillard and Holiday is big.
That's fair.
That's how I was looking at it.
Well, anyway, I had the Cavs 3, so we both had the Cavs, I think, at 3. Yep. I had the Knicks at 4 as well.
About that.
I had the Sixers at 5.
You're dead on about that right now.
I have the Indiana Pacers at 6.
Okay.
So they're still in play. I had the Heat at 7.
They're in 8th.
I had the Nets at 8.
They're in 11th.
I got the Hawks at 9.
Okay.
I had the Magic at 10. I know they're in 6th right now, but having the Magic in the play-in was like a really big pick for me. I had the Raptors just on the outside at 11, so I'm closer than you are with the Raptors.
Go figure. We were more right about the opposing teams that we hate.
Yeah, I know, eh? The Pistons at 12, that worked out for me. I had the Bulls at 13 because I didn't like the Bulls.
Honestly, the way that they're playing right now, it's plausible that they'll at least get out of 15th because they've had some good wins. They've had some really good games.
Well, I had the Bulls at 13, so that kind of washed away the Pistons pick. I had the Hornets at 14. I had the Wizards at 15.
Okay, so we both have Hornets and Wizards in the same spot. Okay.
Yeah, the Eastern Conference again was kind of pretty cut and dry. Now let's look at the Western Conference. You and I had the same number 1 and number 2, Suns and Nuggets.
No, that turned out well.
I had Sacramento at 3.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that.
Well, it's okay, Cage. I'm looking at number 5 right now, and am I excited? Number 4, I had Golden State, as we've talked about, has not panned out the way we would have thought.
Eek.
I had OKC at number 5.
Well, that was better than me. I had OKC at 7th.
So I had them at least in the playoffs. They're now 2nd right now in the West. I had the Grizzlies at 6. That worked out well for me.
Oh, damn.
I had the Lakers at 7. Huh?
Yeah, the Grizzlies higher than me, and I thought I was bad.
I didn't think they were going to be that bad without Ja. No one could have predicted they were going to be that bad without Ja. And then Ja's going to have shoulder surgery to end his season after, 8 games?
And then Bane gets hurt.
The The Grizzlies season's like been a wash from from game 1.
Yeah.
So I had the Lakers at 7.
Yep.
I had the Mavs at 8.
You're on the mark with the Mavs.
I had the so listen to my 9 and 10, Cage. I had the Clippers at 9. I had the Timberwolves at 10.
Did I have the Timberwolves at 10 too? You had the Clippers at 9th. Lols.
Yeah, so I thought health would ruin the Clippers. That has not been the case yet this year. The Timberwolves have been way better than advertised.
Boy, and we were dead wrong about the T-Wolves. We had the T-Wolves at 10.
I had the Pelicans at 11. I thought health would ruin them too. That has not been the case.
Hold on. How are you gonna laugh at me? We had the Timberwolves and Pelicans in the exact same spots.
I was laughing at you for the Lakers.
Huh?
I had the Lakers at 7. You had the Lakers at 2nd, 3rd.
Well, in fairness, with the way the West is, and if the Lakers go on a hot streak, that's...
because I love the Pelicans. I'm surprised by the Pelicans that low. I think it's just because the West has so many good teams. And you can't drop, you couldn't drop Golden State preseason lower than 5 or 6. No one had Golden State in the play-in. Nobody. Not a soul. And if you're saying you did, you're a liar.
Kind of turned it around as of late. They've won 5 in a row.
Well, after the Pelicans, we have the 4 teams that all suck. I had the Jazz at 12.
Yeah, I had the Jazz at 12 too.
I had the Spurs at 13.
Oh, so I had the Rockets at 13.
Which didn't work out. I had the Rockets at 14, which is not. I think it's been a pretty bad pick. Before I decided to break my cardinal rule. I had the Rockets at 14 and the Trailblazers at 15. So I overrated the Spurs a little bit, but other than that, I think the last 4 were pretty much the last 4. No offense to Utah.
Yep.
But I'm pretty happy. I hit the Mavs. I had the Thunder pretty high. Where's Sacramento? Are they 6th?
They're 7th, so
they are
kind
7th?
of fell short there.
I was hoping they have another good regular season. De'Aaron Fox has been great, so I don't feel too bad about picking Sacramento.
I don't know about Fox as of late. His scoring's kind of been on and off.
Well, it's okay, Cage. We might go through during the All-Star break. Might go back through our top 10 per position and see how it's gone. And you get to gush about your Wembanyama pick.
I'm looking at it based off of fantasy because I had Fox and then I traded him.
Well, yeah, you're a Cardinal trader in your 8 fantasy leagues.
3.
You're Mr. Wheeling and Dealing. We call you the used dealership.
Hey man, I pick up gems off of the waiver wire market.
That's what they all say, Cage. That's what they all say.
Hold on. Let me go through my fantasy teams right now. Hold up.
Oh, no, good God. No, that's gonna take us an hour. We're not gonna do that right now. We'll do that during the All-Star break, Cage. We'll do that in the All-Star break.
All right, the one fantasy team that I have.
Oh, good God.
That I actually take serious.
Oh, good God.
Okay. So the guys who I still have drafted: Shea, Tyrese Maxey, Wemby, DeAndre Ayton, Kyrie Irving, Şengün, Middleton, Porzingis and Anunoby, and Porzingis and Anunoby came via the trade market. But DiVincenzo, free agent pickup. Emmanuel Quickly, free agent pickup. Denny Avdia, free agent pickup. Gary Trent Jr., who I did draft Gary Trent Jr., but I'm going to drop his bum self. Kevin Huerter, I'll eventually drop him. But Colin Sexton and Jonathan Kuminga. Sexton, Kuminga, DiVincenzo, Avdia, and Quickly. Guys who you can argue are roster mainstays right now off of waiver wire pickup. So, I feel pretty good about my team.
I don't want to hear it right now. Okay, Kate, you know what? We're going to skip over your garbage fantasy team compared to my 15-1 fantasy team in basketball.
15-1 first in this league. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, my team would beat your team, so regardless. Anyway.
What categories?
Anyway. Oh, yeah, I know you love categories. Anyway.
Yeah, I can beat you in points, too.
I know you couldn't. Anyway.
Yes, sir.
There's a reason why one of us does points and one of us has categories. One of us actually knows basketball, one of us has to beg for categories.
Not really. I don't
Anyway.
know that league.
Anyway. So, Cage, we're going to do one more thing before we move off the NBA. If there was one pick out of your 30-team ranking in the West and the East, who would you want to move? Like, if you could make one move right now from your list. Now, we're not going to actually take this into the count. But right now, looking at your East and West, who would you move? And I'll give you one per conference just to make it fair.
One for okay. I was gonna ask like.
So you get one for the East and one for the West. Who would you want to move up or down? One team move up, one team move down. And it's not like we're moving teams around. You just get to move that team up to that spot. Everyone moves down.
I'm gonna be biased for like the East one, but the Raptors down.
Well, yeah. Where do you move them to? Where do you think they finish?
14th.
Ooh, you put them 4th. Good God. You put them below the Wizards? Good God.
Hey, man. I don't know what you want me to say. They're tanking.
So you said the Raptors, you'd move them down. So who would you move in the West, up or down?
Timberwolves up, because that's just ridiculous.
And you put them at 1?
Yeah, 1 or 2. But I had them. From what I said, I had them taking the 1 seed, so move them up.
Yeah, you had them taking the 1 seed, so put them at 1.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of good teams in the West, and certain circumstances out of other teams' control played a factor. But I should have known the Timberwolves are going to be better than 10th.
Gotta be honest, Cage, looking at my Eastern Conference, I'm pretty happy with everybody being in and out. I'm going to move. There's 3 teams I can move. I either move the Bulls up, the Pistons down, or I do what I want to do, which is what I'm going to do. The Celtics, they jump from 2 to 1. I move the Celtics up 1 spot, flip them with the Bucks, and we're good to go. My Eastern Conference is set.
So basically, we kind of redo our teams as pickup moves. Got it.
Exactly. In these, exactly. like the biased fans we are going to do. Exactly.
Good to know.
And then in the West, I got a couple moves, Cage. I can move the Golden State Warriors down. I can move Timberwolves up. I can move the Clippers up. I can move the Pelicans up. That's my 9, 10, 11 is Clippers, Timberwolves, Pelicans. Or I move Golden State down. And I got to be honest, I don't feel bad about missing out on the injury-plagued Clippers and Pelicans. I don't feel bad about missing on the Timberwolves because no one thought that. I'm going to move Golden State down. And I'm moving them down to 9th. So it would go Pelicans, Timberwolves, Golden State, Clippers up to 8. Everybody moves up 1, which means the Thunder move from 5 to 4. Yes, that means the Grizzlies stay at 6, or move to 5, which sucks, but I don't really care. I want to move Golden State down because Golden State's booty, and they suck, and they're not going to make the playoffs. Or they're going to make the play-in, but they're going to lose in the play-in. So that makes me kind of happy. That makes me kind of happy. So I'm moving Golden State down because you Golden State.
Have kind of looked better as of late. Ever since that bum Steve Kerr finally played Jonathan Kuminga more.
Yeah, but
your young guys more. And an underrated part of the Golden State's run right now, during Golden State's streak right now, has been the fact that Draymond Green hasn't engaged in any BS. In that game versus the Warriors versus the Suns, it was obvious Nurkic was trying to bait him, and Draymond didn't fall for it. We've seen a different Warriors team over these past 5 games, and Chris Paul's not even in the picture yet. So I thought they were done for. But Golden State's shown a little bit of something. And to be honest, they're only 4.5 back of 5th. Anything can happen. I think 1 to 4, they've kind of gained some separation. Although if one team goes cold all of a sudden, that kind of changes things. But 5 to 10 is really close.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one team gets cold, wouldn't surprise me. I'm looking at the Suns and Kings. It wouldn't shock me if one of those teams goes cold.
Well, all I'm gonna say is I moved out of Golden State because lol, you Warriors suck. Anyway, so now moving off of the NBA, but before we go, Cage,
Yes.
sports betting has risen in popularity, and I want to connect you with all the opportunities to get you started or get ahead. Having multiple sportsbook accounts is the most simple way to maximizing your profits, and there is no better time to start than right now. When you visit our page, signupexpert.com/the outrage. It'll be in the description of this video. You'll be connected to all the sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. All of these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users. And when you register with our link, you'll automatically receive the top offer from each one. So not only will you be getting the best odds from every sportsbook, you'll be also getting the best offers from every sportsbook. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure you always have access to the best available odds, which is key to successful sports betting like Kajan Thiru Castle beside me. If you want to take advantage of these benefits, support our brand, please consider signing up with our sportsbook link of signupexpert.com/the outrage. Again, it'll be in the description of this video. In case I know you got quite a few picks, so go ahead with your litany of bets for tonight's set of games.
Well, for my 6-game parlay, I'm going to take.
And I'll make sure before you finish, Cajun, bet responsibly, bet what you can lose, make sure you're of age, all that stuff. Continue, Cajun.
Okay, so I got 6 picks, and I'm gonna put just a little bit on a parlay, but I got 3 picks that I've underlined. So
He's got 3 gimmies and 3 he's kind of on the fence on.
that's one of them could be a gimme, but actually, you know what?
No, Cajun changing his mind as we go.
I'm gonna make that a gimme too. So I got 4 gimmies and 2 I'm kind of on the fence about. So the 2 I'm kind of on the fence about are Bam Adebayo over 2.5 turnovers. This is at plus 105 odds. These odds are according to DraftKings. And Chet Holmgren over 2.5 blocks at minus 105.
I'll make sure I say, so just in case you can't understand Cajun, he's always over. He'll never bet an under. So if you ever hear Cajun talk about a bet, it's always going to be over the amount. So over 2.5 blocks for Chet, over 2.5 turnovers for Bam tonight. He's on the fence about those 2 bets tonight.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I do bet under. Sometimes.
I've never seen it in my life, Cage, but continue.
But if I do bet unders, it's more than likely on total points for a team. Because players love to pad stats. Like to pad their stats. Now, I think you're gonna like a couple of these ones. Domantas Sabonis over 2.5 turnovers against Phoenix. Phoenix and Sacramento play very hot, fast pace, which likely will lead to mistakes. And Sabonis, I think, had 5 turnovers last game. I need to check that. I do have to check that. Yeah, I was dead on. He had 5 turnovers last game, and over his last ish games, he's had 1 game in which he had 0 turnovers. That was against Detroit, but 4-6-5-0-3-5. That's his last six games. He's gone over 2.5 in 8 of the last 10. And the last time they played, he's played 2 games against Phoenix. He's had 4 and 3 turnovers. So I expect him to go over 2.5. Now, Ausar Thompson over 1.5 steals and blocks. And this was a favorite of mine early in the season, back when he was actually getting minutes.
Yeah, when he was basically starting, Cajun bet this like every single game.
Yep. And it was a good one until Monty Williams decided to not to give him minutes. Now he's starting again. And against the Lakers, in which they have turnover-prone guys in LeBron James, Austin Reeves, D'Lo, Anthony Davis sometimes. I feel like the 1.5 steals and blocks combined, that's too low for him. That's way too low for him. That might just be me, but that's way too low for him. And looking at his stats, he had two steals last game. He had one steal against Portland, which was kind of weird. He has gone over in 8 of the last 9 games. Over 1.5 steals and blocks. He's gone over that in 8 of his last 9. I expect that to continue. I expect that to be 9 out of 10. And now, I think I got 2 more to mention. Ben Simmons over 1.5 turnovers against the Celtics. That's all I got to say about that. He had 4 turnovers last game against the Spurs. Against the Celtics, bro? Come on. He's playing more minutes. He's compiling up the stats, but he's facing off against a really good defensive team in Boston. 1.5 turnovers is way too low to me. I just kind of went with logic and like stats for like Ausar Thompson and Domantas Sabonis, but this one's just like throw logic out the window. Like, come on.
Dude, this is all feel, Cage. All feel.
This is all feel. Like 1.5 turnovers. Like when he had 4 against the Spurs, I'm like, that's laughable to me. That line's laughable. A line that was laughable. 2 lines that were laughable to me yesterday was Victor Wembanyama over 2.5 blocks and Grady Dick over 6.5 points. Those 2 were laughable. And Spurs money line was laughable too, but we
already
get
said that.
Point. But the last one, and I'm gonna be honest, I think this is going to hit if this game's close. If this game does get close. Although it was a blowout against the Clippers and he got there easily with 4 blocks. Now Gobert, over 1.5 blocks. He's averaging 2.1 blocks per game. So I expect him to just get 2 blocks. He has had, now he's kind of been a little iffy, a little bit on and off with this. He's had, over his past 6 games, he's had 2 blocks, 4 blocks, 1 block, no blocks against Milwaukee, and 4 blocks against the Clippers. Now he's gonna go up against Ayton, who tries to get his work done from the mid-range and with jump hooks. So I expect him to get maybe 1 or 2 blocks out of that. And I'm just gonna try to figure out if Minnesota and Portland have played. They have played once, and he had 2 blocks in a win on January 12th against Portland. He had 2 blocks. I think 1.5 blocks for a guy like Rudy Gobert is a little bit too low, but that's just me. And I think he'll go over that.
Did you hit them all, Cage? I think you did.
I did.
Perfect. So now we'll move off of the NBA officially. We're done. We're not going to talk about something we did a lot during the summer, Cage, when the men's team qualified for the Olympics here in Canada for the 2024 Paris Olympics coming this summer, which we probably will do some live commentaries of, Cage, if we can find the time.
Hopefully we will.
But the Canadian women's team had a chance to qualify for the Olympics, and they had quite a rough qualification. It was a 4-team tournament where 3 teams qualified. Canada, Japan, Spain, and Hungary were the 4 teams participating. Hungary was the host and the lowest ranked team. Canada was ranked 5th, Japan was ranked 6th, and Spain was ranked 4th, while Hungary is down ranked number 19th globally. Canada lost to Spain and 86-82 lost to Japan in game number 2, dropped into 1 and 2. And they had beaten Hungary on earlier in the week. So they needed Spain to beat Hungary to qualify. Spain was down by as much as 22 in the game. Spain goes on to come back and win the game 73-72 over the host Hungary As Spain and Japan, I believe, had already qualified. And
Yep.
Canada qualifies to the 2024 Olympics with the win for Spain. So Canada is going to the Olympics. The women's team did get a chance to celebrate in their hotel room watching Spain come back and win. This is the first time since 2000 that the men's and women's Canadian teams qualified for the games. This is also the fourth consecutive women's Canadian appearance in basketball for the women's national team. So very big for Canada right now in basketball, Cage.
It is very big, but I'm going to be a little pessimistic on this. Like, sure, losing to Spain and Japan, those two are really tough teams. And can I credit Canada? I think they played Japan close. I don't know.
86-82.
I don't know if you told me how close the Spain game was.
I believe it was 60-55 in favor of Spain.
Okay.
And they beat Hungary 67-55.
So they've competed against Spain and Japan, but to think that it took a 22-point comeback for Spain just for Canada to get in, they got a lot to clean up. Because, yes, they've qualified for the Olympics 4 straight times, but I think the last time they were in the Olympics, I don't think they got out of the qualifying stages. So if they want this to be if Canada wants this run to be lengthy for them, this Olympic run to be lengthy for them, they're going to have to clean up a lot. They're going to have to get their program. They're going to have to prepare a lot, and it's kind of good. It is kind of a wake up call that they had to go through this, and they played against some really good teams in Spain and Japan, and even Hungary to a degree. But at least with the Canadian men's team, we saw some really good things from them. We saw some really good things, and they actually won out. They actually won out and got a bronze at the FIBA World Cup, which was their best accomplishment in a while, or ever, at the FIBA World Cup stage. With the women's team, they just with the women's team, they've really played Japan. I was really happy with how they played against Japan and Spain. But something doesn't sit well with me knowing that you had to rely on Spain coming back from down 22. You literally had your fate was literally in Spain coming back. But with that being said, you're in. They're in. No matter which way I'm probably nitpicking at that point, but they're in. And they got an opportunity to do something special, just like the men. Both the women's and men's programs have a opportunity to do something special, and Paris is going to be a movie come summer 2024 for both the Canadian men's and women's and national teams. I'm excited. It's going to be fun to watch.
Well, Cage, the women's team at the Olympics has never placed higher than 4th. They were 6th and 4th that was 6th in 1976, 4th in 1984, 11th in 1996, 10th in 2000, 8th in 2012, 7th in 2016, 9th in 2020, and they've qualified for 2024. So they've never done exactly well at the Olympics. But they have now qualified for their 4th straight games, which definitely still is an improvement for a nation that, Cage, we can be honest, has never been really good at basketball. We're just getting good at basketball now as a nation.
That is true.
So that is pretty massive for us. I will now mention, Cage, for the men. They had not qualified since 2000, as we've spoken about. Last time both the men's and women's team made it was 2000. Last time the men's team even made the Olympics since going into this year was 2000. Their highest finish is 4th. They got 4th in Montreal at the 76 Olympics, and they got 4th in 84 in Los Angeles. That's the highest they've ever finished.
Were they close?
Well, actually, That's a lie. They got a silver in 1936 in Berlin.
Were they close in Sydney?
They were 7th in 2000.
Okay.
6th in Seoul in 1988.
Good. Well,
So we don't have a history of being good at the Olympics.
well, it also helps that Canada has a borderline top 5 player in the world.
You can definitely say this is probably the best Canadian team on the men's side for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe we could argue on the women's because you got to think about, Cage, that this qualification would have been without probably some of their best players because of the college basketball season. Aaliyah Edwards couldn't go.
Edwards.
Yvonne Ijam couldn't go. Cassandra Prosper for Notre Dame couldn't go. Russell from Louisville couldn't go. That's 4 players right there playing right now at the college level who were at the 2023 AmeriCup team
Yep.
for FIBA, right? So that's some really good players that weren't able to go. That was a bronze medal team, by the way, at the FIBA Women's AmeriCup.
Mm-hmm.
So, as much as we talk about, Canada having to do well and needing to be a good team, and that they're going to have they had a pretty tough road to get there, which they did. It just shows that even without some of their better players, they still get a chance to go, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they do. And I will mention, Cage, the Americans didn't even win the AmeriCup. It was Brazil who beat them in the final. Canada only lost to the U.S. by 4 points in the semis, and then beat Puerto Rico in the 3rd place playoff. And no, I will not. And no, I won't say the Americans were at full strength because they weren't. But still, pretty impressive for Canada.
Yep. That it was. I think the USA were playing an Olympic qualifying tournament too. And they finished undefeated. I want to know how highly ranked Belgium is.
Well, taking a look at the FIBA Women's World Rankings, the U.S. is number 1, China is number 2, Australia is number 3, Spain's number 4, Canada's number 5, just above number 6, Belgium.
Okay.
Brazil's number 8, and this was of August 21st, 2023, so this also could still adjust to some movement. Japan was number 9 in August of 2023. Nigeria jumped up 7 spots to 11 in this poll.
Mm.
And a bunch of African teams actually really jumped into the rankings. But yeah, I mean, definitely massive for Canada, with being able to play Spain really close, play Japan really close, and then of course beat Hungary, who got themselves into the top 20 in the world rankings.
Mm. It's massive. It's historic, and Canadians have to be proud of the men's and women's basketball team because this is the best we've seen them in years, or ever, together at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best part. Is it's not just that they're both playing really well and qualifying for the Olympics for the first time together, and the women's qualifying for their 4th straight Olympics. It's happening at the same time.
Yep.
Like both the men's and women's basketball programs here in Canada are getting exponentially better at the exact same time, which you gotta love to see.
Yep.
And I gotta be honest, Cage, some pretty big upsets going around the NCAA. I don't really want to talk about the upsets. Like, there's not really an upset where I'm like, ooh, I want to talk about that because some big teams lost, some big ranked teams lost. Like Kansas has lost a lot recently. They lost again yesterday. But I want to talk about the most recent men's AP polls for one very specific reason. Cajun, have you ever heard of Indiana State?
Not on the AP men's poll, have I not?
Well, you should have. because the Indiana State Sycamores are ranked for the first time since 1979. Do you want to know who played for them back in 1979 when they were last ranked in the top 25? Larry Legend, Larry Bird. The Indiana State Sycamores, on a 9-game heater, are ranked number 23 in the most recent men's AP polls. One of 4 teams to get into the top 25 that were unranked last week. St. Mary's debuts at 18, Virginia back in at 21, Indiana State, as I mentioned, at 23, and Oklahoma back in at 25.
Damn.
Kansas just moved down 2 spots from 4 to 6. They're probably going to drop farther with their most recent loss to Texas Tech, even though Texas Tech is a good basketball team. UConn and Purdue stay at 1 and 2. Houston jumps back up to 3. The big drop, Illinois dropped 4 spots.
North Carolina.
North Carolina only dropped 4 spots. You're right, 4 spots. But not a whole lot of guys or a lot of teams that dropped, like really fell out. Oh, I guess Wisconsin. Yeah, Wisconsin dropped like a stone. Dropped 9 spots. I didn't even see. I was looking for them, to be honest. I knew they dropped. Dropped from 11 to 20 did the Badgers with a couple big losses this week.
Kentucky dropped 5 spots too.
Yeah, 17 to 22. They've also struggled recently, have the Wildcats, as they just lost to Gonzaga in their most recent game.
You had to like that, didn't you?
Oh, I'm a big fan of Mark Few's men getting that big victory. And now looking at the women's AP poll, Ohio State's now up to number 2 in the nation. They're tied for highest school finish or highest school ranking ever. Obviously, the number 1 team stays the South Carolina Gamecocks. Stanford at 3, Iowa at 4.
By the way, that was a big statement win against UConn without Camila Cadorso.
For sure. And they roll past the number 11 UConn Cornhuskers.
Yes.
They're just the UConn Huskies. The Cornhuskers is
and UConn
Nebraska.
Just 4 spots 2 to 15th.
Well, I mean, when you play all those ranked teams and can't win, you're gonna fall.
Yeah. So what I'm looking at, the biggest drop off.
It's gotta be Colorado, right? It's gotta
Colorado
be
dropped 4.
Because they've lost a couple of games recently.
UConn dropped 4. Notre Dame dropped 4. Louisville dropped 3. Baylor dropped 3 spots.
And I will mention, Cage, Stanford jumped 3 spots from 6 to 3, leapfrogging Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, Cage, I do want to mention, but I'm not sure if we mentioned it yet.
Yep.
I don't think we have yet. I'm just looking for the next game. Iowa plays Michigan at Iowa on February 15th. Caitlin Clark is 8 points away from breaking the record. From breaking Kelsey Plum's all-time scoring record is Caitlin Clark. And Cage, if I'm not mistaken, we spoke about her opportunity to break this record when they played, was it Northwestern, and she dropped, it was a ludicrous amount of points. Yeah. I'm trying to find the game. Well, she got like 38 3 games in a row. Regardless, we spoke about it a long time ago. At what game did you think she was going to break it? And I said, I hope it's the Michigan game because it's at home. I hope it's that game right there. And all of a sudden, Cage, Caitlin Clark's got a chance to break the all-time NCAA scoring record at home. Because she's going to break it. 8 points, she's going to break it.
She has to. I saw one of the tickets. They're going for $1,000 now.
No doubt. You're seeing history, kids. You're seeing history.
We gotta mark our calendars for this one. Thursday, February 15th at 8 p.m.
And again, the best part about that, Kate, is it's at home. It's at Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
So the home crowd will get to rain her in cheers when she breaks the record.
Yes, sir.
That is just poetry in motion. And I think that's a good way to end it, Cage.
That is.
Well, there's something else you want to talk about?
I wanted to, but this is a great way to end it off.
Then we'll go. For Kajan, Ruth, Annie Castle, I'm Spencer Byers. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Polar Opposites. We should be back on Thursday, but we'll see if we can find a time. But it will be one more episode this week as you watch this on the Outrage Inc.